Hey guys, Into the End here. I'm here to do an update on the Xenan Life Force deck that I've been working on. Apologize for the sirens outside. Um, I've done some more games using many different versions of the Xenan Life Force deck, and it turns out that the most effective and the most powerful version of the deck is this one. But if you take a look at this deck closely, you might notice that that there are zero life force cards in it. And the honest truth is, the life force cards were just not good enough. Keitra um, really didn't pull her weight. It's very rare that you can trigger her ability with enough of a board presence that it does anything. Triggering her ability once, maybe even twice, with a couple of units in play isn't even enough to fight with your opponent's units that cost the same, that are just inherently that much better than yours. This is basically just a straight up Xenan killers good stuff deck. And I have by far the biggest winning streak with this deck. In fact, I climbed from Diamond 3 to Diamond 2 with this version of the deck. But I know that that's not what you want to hear. The closest version to being good for the Life Force deck is this one. I did remove all of the Ketras, and I also removed the Devoted Thirge, as well as the Statistic Valkyrie. They were just not good enough. My initial assessment of those cards were incorrect. They sounded good on paper, but in actual practice, they were far too slow. The casting cost is too high, and it's too cluttered on the 4-drop slot. The problem is you played the 3-drop and the 4-drop, and then you're stuck playing one card per turn for the next 3 or 4 or 5 turns. There simply isn't enough good 1 and 2 mana spells in a Xenan deck that is either an enabler or a payoff card. The early versions that I ran, I also tried to do it with earlier game units. The version with the Sanctuary Priest. So this version, I stuck true to the roots of Life Force. I even added the Cult Aspirants because I found that the deck was too slow, the curve was too high. This version of the deck actually did okay if you curve out perfectly. By that I mean turn 1 Aspirant, turn 2 Sanctuary Priest with a power, and then continue to pump this with Life Force every turn you draw power, going into the either Ayan or Valkyrie, followed by Keitra, by the Umbren Reaper. If you curve out perfectly like that, the deck is actually very strong, and you can overwhelm opposing aggro decks very easily. But the unfortunate truth is, you almost never get those draws. It's like 1 out of 10 games. A whole bunch of the times you draw like 2 or 3 Sanctuary Priests, gain life up to 30, and then you have some Temple Scribes and some Zen Initiations in your hand, and then you have some Zen and Obelisk. But your opponent's playing Sandstorm Titans, Tavrets, Harsh Rules, and the like, and you're completely overwhelmed on the board, and you lose. And that's very typical of the kind of variance you would get when you need to draw the right combination of cards in the right order. In this case, you need to draw the 1-drops, you need to draw the perfect curve, and then you also need to draw the right mixture of payoffs and enablers. And that's just too much to ask for this deck. So I've decided that this deck is simply not viable. And after many games, I've given up on it. And I think if we were to stick with a Life Force theme, this is the best one. And unfortunately, there really is just one card in this deck that has Life Force, and that is the Beckoning Lumen. The more I play with the Life Force payoff cards, the more I'm impressed with this one. Keitra requires too many things to happen, and it's too small. It's a 4-mana 3/3, dies to a Torch, dies to a lot of pretty much every removal spell except for Annihilate. And it dies to Vanquish once you've triggered it, which is kind of unfortunate. And it requires you to have a board presence, and it also requires you to be able to gain life. That's way too much to ask. Instead, the Beckoning Lumen is actually really easy to trigger, and a 5-mana 6/4 is actually very good. It blocks opposing Sandstorm Titans. It blocks pretty much anything on the ground, almost everything on the ground that costs 5 or 6 mana. It can even block 6 mana cards, like it trades with the Predatory Cranosaur, and it also trades with Heart of the Vault. And triggering the Life Force is pretty easy, actually, in this deck. And unlike Ketra, you don't need any other card in play, you just need this one, and you get to draw a lot of cards back, which I like a lot. Surprisingly enough, in this deck, between the Beckoning Lumen and the Auric Interrogator being triggered by being activated by the Xenan Obelisk, this deck actually draws a lot of cards, which is the #1 weakness of Life Force decks. So I think this shell for Life Force is actually working pretty well, and because I took out the Ketras, there was no reason for playing the Devoted Theurge and the Sadistic Valkyries as well. So this is the version of the deck that I ended up with. I think there is still some room for tweaking. For example, I think you can replace the Steward of the Past with Sandstorm Titans. I think that's a very viable option, but I do like the Steward here because it just gets rid of all kinds of void shenanigans, and it can pretty much block anything in the game. So that is pretty good. But unfortunately, because we're using Steward and not Sandstorm Titan, we are a little bit weak in the air. So against decks that have a lot of flyers very early, like the Horu decks, we do run into trouble sometimes, especially if, or even sometimes against Urgent Port decks that goes turn 3 Valkyrie Enforcer, turn 4 Impending Doom, turn 5 Impending Doom, turn 6 Impending Doom, for example. We do end up losing to those kind of draws. I added 4 Sabotage to the deck, not because this is a great card, but because I would like to drop the curve, and Sabotage is actually not bad in the current meta. There are far too many weapons and relic weapons running around, and because every deck is gearing itself to fight Tavards, a lot of decks are playing a large number of removal spells, a lot more than the end of season last month. So I find that I have actually never missed with Sabotage, at least the first 1 or 2 copies of it. The really late game top decks are really bad when your opponent has no cards in his hand. But I've actually been very impressed with Sabotage in the current meta. So, and then 1 copy of Azindel's Gift against Control Mirrors has worked out very well. It's allowed me to beat some Felon Control decks and even a Chalice deck once. So with that said, I'm going to jump into a couple of games with this deck. I actually did play with this deck in the last hour. I played about 10 games with this deck, and I'm currently sitting at 7-3, or maybe it was 8-2. So the deck is actually doing pretty good tonight. I've been running into a lot of matchups that I'm pretty favored against. And also, when I run into the really fast aggro decks, their draws weren't amazing, so they were slow enough that I was able to overwhelm them with Life Gang and better mid-game units. The matchups that I really don't want to run into is decks like Armory and Chalice, which I find very difficult to fight. Okay, so this hand is okay. I can play the Xenan Banner turn 1 and Diplomatic Seal turn 2, and I can draw an additional card with Temple Scribe, and I can also draw a land with Vara's Favor. So this hand is actually a very good hand. Yeah, we'll start with that. There's no need to play Sabotage because there's no spells or attachments that anybody can play in the first 2 turns that you care that much about. Even the Power Stone, it's like, it's fine. You typically want to play the Sabotage before you play a critical unit so that it doesn't get removed. So we're gonna start off with the Temple Scribe to draw another card. Because if we draw a power source naturally, then I don't actually want to use the Vara's Favor. It's quite useful for triggering Aegis and also killing random 1/1s. I think this is fine. We're going to play the Amber Monument, but we are going to kill his Temple Scribe to draw a card. To draw a power. Because we do need the second black. This deck does want a second Shadow Source for a little bit later on. Well, you need triple Shadow Source for a little bit later on, but so you do want to start building it. So we'll play the Amber Monument this turn with the intention of playing both the Dawnwalker and the Sabotage on the following turn, and strip whatever removal spell he has. These three color combination has been very popular lately. Although when I play against opponents that uses these three color combinations, they often get color screwed. But we'll see how this opponent does. Okay, so let's just strip his removal spell, Permafrost. That's a good one to strip. Permafrost beats the Dawnwalker, so that was a very fortunate Sabotage there. And so what I intend to do is play the Auric Interrogator and then put a Xenan Initiation on it, so then I can start drawing cards off of it. Yeah, we can offer the trade, no big deal. When we have one more power, we can play the Beckoning Lumen, which will bring back our Dawnwalkers, so it's pretty good. So my opponent only has a single hit for Sabotage 2 turns ago. So I'm actually not super incentivized to play the second Sabotage. He has to have drawn a spell over the last 2 turns, and it has to be a spell that matters. I'm not so sure if I want to use it. Let's just use it. Nope, missed. That's most unfortunate. The reason I used it is because he could very well have torches in his deck, and even though I took a risk and used the Sabotage and wasted it, the fact that I can put Xenan Initiation onto the Interrogator allows me to draw a card back, so it's not really a card disadvantage in that sense, because then he has no way to kill it. Now, though, he can play a Predatory Cranosaur, which will let him kill my Interrogator for free. And Surso is a very big problem for this deck. I do need to draw one of my removal spells very quickly, and Banish won't do it. This is when Sabotage is actually really bad. That's too bad. We missed the land draw for a couple turns now, the power for like 3-4 turns now. Otherwise, we could have another Dawnwalker in play. That would have been pretty good. But I think at this point we do lose. We are too far behind, stuck on 4 power here. And we still need to draw an answer to Surso. Yeah, there's just too many big creatures. I still haven't drawn a power. So this is a bust. I think my opponent's deck is very good against mine. I do need to draw removal spells for these. Actually, the only card that I have to answer is Surso. The rest I can probably double block or even single block with an Umbren Reaper with an Obelisk in play. But of course, being stuck on 4 power and not being able to play any of those cards certainly didn't help. Yeah, because with a Xenan Obelisk in play and a Xenan Initiation cast onto a Dawnwalker, it's a 6/3. Then I can actually use it to trade with any of his 6 toughness and power units. So I think that deck I think this hand is okay. We have one semi-interactive card in turn 2, but we have nothing to do for. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, this might be a little too weak. No, I'll keep it. I think this hand's very, very borderline, but I think it's worth a try. Unless my opponent's deck is very aggressive, this hand might be okay. Against a mid-range deck, this hand is quite good. And it looks like my opponent is got a mid-range deck. Oh, it's not Chalice, because Chalice decks do not play Initiates of the Sand. So we're gonna go ahead and kill the Initiate. That's a free kill with the Vara's Favor. This is the best feeling. Killing a Initiate with a Vara's Favor is one of the best things you can do with the Vara's Favor. So here, I'm definitely going to Sabotage him. This kind of deck is going to have tons of targets for Sabotage. I'm okay with him having 2 Vanquishers. Let's take Scouting Party. We don't have any board sweepers, and we don't have a ton of units in our deck, so 4 spies is actually quite difficult for us to deal with. But then again, he's stuck on 2 power, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Interesting enough, I don't want to play the Obelisk because once I play the Obelisk, the Steward becomes a 4/6 and both his Vanquish is turned on. So So maybe maybe we don't do that. So let's attack him. If he double blocks, we'll Deathstrike one and get the blowout. We're gonna give him the free kill with his Vanquish, even though I know that he's doing nothing else. Oh no, he drew power. So he's got what I know is 2 Vanquish and 1 Obelisk and 3 cards that I don't know. Well, 2 cards that I don't know because one of them is the power he just played. He's chosen not to play his Vanquish onto my Dawnwalker, which is a fair play. I mean, it can come back, so why waste the removal on it, right? My opponent is very far from being able to harsh rules, and we know that he's stuck on lands. So if he draws 1 land every 3 turns, I think he'll be dead before he hits the harsh rule mana. And he needs to draw Justice as well. Yeah, we'll continue to give him targets for the Vanquish. I'm also stuck on power though, so but I'm obviously in much better shape than my opponent. There we go. So here, I'm actually going to give him the opportunity. Actually, no, let's just do this. I can bring back my Dawnwalkers this way. My alternative play was to play the Obelisk, and it'll give him the opportunity to vanquish both or one of my Stewards. But obviously, it didn't matter because my opponent's stuck on 3 and our board position is overwhelming. So that's unfortunate. We won a game that was very uneventful. I'm hoping to play a couple of good games to showcase how the deck runs when it does run well. It's a pretty powerful deck when it runs smooth, and even when in these games that I play, I think the deck is above average. I think it even in its current non-fine-tuned state, it is something you could potentially climb the ladder with. I was using this deck earlier in Diamond 2, and I did get up to 68 points, I think, by winning, I don't know, 5 or 6 games or something like that, before I lost a few more games and got dropped back down. Yeah, back down to now 42. But back to the Life Force theme deck though. My initial build with the Therage and Ketra, I think what it needs to do is I think a few buffs are needed. I think Ayan should probably be a 3-mana 3/4. I think if it's a 3-mana 3/4, it survives Torch. I think that's the most important thing right now because that's what it dies to the most. And I think Ketra is far too expensive. Ketra needs to be a cheaper card. I think if it was a 3-mana 1/3, 1/4, or a 2-mana 1/4, or something like that, or sorry, 2 power 1/4, or even 1/3, I think that would make the deck a lot more viable. In fact, if Ketra was the 2 or 3 power to play with much weaker stats, I think that might be good enough. Because you want to be able to play the Because I have 2 Auric Interrogators in my hand and I need double black, I normally you would just play the Amber Monument, but I think I have the highest chance of playing the Interrogator if I start with the Banner. Because if I draw any... maybe it wouldn't have made a difference, but I think starting with both power and play gives me the most options. If I draw a Temple Scribe, for example, I can play the Time Sigil and then play the Temple Scribe. Whereas if I played the Amber Monument and I drew a Temple Scribe, I would either have to play the Time Sigil, which I don't want to do, or wait one more turn. Okay, so this is going pretty well. My opponent will most likely torch this, but I have another one, and then I can Xenan Initiation it, and I can start drawing cards off of it. So my opponent doesn't have a Sword of Icaria, otherwise I think he would just Oh no, it's... Wait, he's on 2 power. Oh. So oh no, I got another opponent that's power screwed. I really don't like this. Yeah, I really don't like it when my opponent gets power screwed, because the games are uneventful, and I don't really have a good video editing software, so I don't even have a really great way to cut these kind of videos out. I'm just recording all the videos in one non-stop recording session, and I don't do any. I don't really do any editing or cutting with it. This is really uneventful. Alright, well, let's just try and end this game as quickly as we can and play another one. I don't really want my only 2 wins in this video to be my opponent's getting mana screwed. Ironically enough, I can no longer draw cards with the Auric Interrogator, which is kind of funny. So my opponent is very far from a harsh rule. Because he was mana screwed, he has to draw 2 running power sources, and I think his odds are pretty bad, to be honest. So I think I'm okay overextending into a deck that has harsh rule. Yeah, it's too little too late for him. Well, that's too bad. Let's jump into our next game. So I wouldn't really call those 2 game wins. I wouldn't consider any game where my opponent just gets power screwed to be an honest win. I think this deck is right now 0-1. So let's try and find a good game. But also, objectively speaking though, the amount of times where I play a game and my opponent gets power screwed is astoundingly high. And I don't believe that all my opponents just have really bad decks that have not enough power sources in it. I think there's just a high degree of variance in this game, and I think there's something fishy with the shuffler in this game. Okay, so I need to play this out first on turn 1 to ensure that I have 2 power next turn. So we're gonna give him an opportunity now to play a 3 drop. Okay, so he doesn't have it. He doesn't have anything that's relevant. I wonder why this deck... See, Initiates of the Sands, only very specific decks want it, not all decks. So it makes me believe that this is a very unit-heavy deck, most likely with Xenan Obelisk, and... Oh wait, I played this player, didn't I? He has the scouting parties in his deck. Yeah, this is the player with the scouting parties. It must be. I'm gonna use the Vara's Favor for sure, because I want to hit my land drop for sure. So I can play both the Sabotage and the Vara's Favor in the same turn. What? No valid cards. That was super unexpected. Well, next turn, well, the next 3 turns, the Steward of the Past is gonna hold back pretty much anything he can play. But I'm very surprised by the fact that the Sabotage hit nothing, because you think he has Obelisks, Stand-Togethers, and Vanquishes in his deck. So I'm very surprised that he doesn't have it. I'm okay dealing with these cards. I can fight this. None of his units getting through the 3/5 deadly. Oh, okay, well now they are. That's painful. I won't block either of those because the 3/5 is still effectively holding back the 2/3 and the 2/1 here. So he's gonna have a 4/4 flyer next turn. I am falling behind. I can't play multiple spells in the same turn. I think if he makes a 4/4 flyer and attacks me with everything, I do die, right? Because no matter how I block, he will deal enough damage to me. Even if I use Annihilate, it won't be enough. So let's just play the Umbren Reaper and hope my opponent doesn't know the rules. Because if he attacks me, I will die in combat. I don't gain the life from the Umbren Reaper. But I'm hoping my opponent doesn't know that and not attack me. Or attack me with just the 6/6s. I don't know. The 5/6 and 6/6. Okay. Is this enough? Oh wait, this way I die to a finest hour. So if I do this, I definitely don't die to a finest hour, but I'm not winning the game either though, right? Because, okay, so if I block like this, I lose both my units, he loses one, and then on the following turn I can have one blocker, and I can remove one. So I can remove the 4/4 and block. No, see, I'm still gonna die next turn, right? So, yeah. Wow, this is... Huh, what does my opponent have in his hand? So my opponent has made a really big mistake. He should have just made an owl and attack me. And this thing becomes a flying unit. And then a 4/4 kills me for sure next turn. So I think. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out. Because now he can't even make the 4/4. But then I guess it's not a 4/4 flyer because his own Sandstorm Titans will make it a ground unit. But I really need a way to kill the... Okay, so he's giving it to me for free, so I think I'll do that. I'll eat this. And I'll oh no, it's not a single... Oh, I'm an idiot. I just killed myself because I'm a moron. Oh no. That was so bad. I thought I could annihilate the Awakened Student and go to 1, but it's a multicolored unit. So I'm Mo2, and I lose this game because I'm just a bad player. I'm so sorry, guys. I've been making a lot of dumb mistakes in all my videos. I made some really silly mistakes in my last video as well, which cost me the game, and I think I made some really dumb mistakes in this game, which cost me the game. Well, that one mistake, which cost me the game. So I'm Mo2. Wow, I'm really sorry. I will try and focus to make the next game a little bit more error-free. Oh, hey, I'm playing against Patrick Chapin. And I think he's on some kind of... Hold on, let me look at the hand first. I don't think this is good enough. I have nothing to play. All my 2 and 3 drops are conditional cards. This hand is much, much better. I saw someone post a post earlier. This has I think LSV and Patrick Chapin are both on some kind of Horu aggro flyers deck. I don't remember the deck list though. So let's go ahead and draw myself a card. So we know we're playing against a very good player. Patrick Chapin, for those of you who does not play Magic the Gathering, is a professional Magic player that has a stellar record in the professional scene. So you can be sure that he's not going to make any mistakes. I think Patrick Chapin is also known as the innovator in Magic. I have not played Magic for quite some time. Over 2 years, I think. I guess the question is... Yeah, we'll just... This is a one toughness unit, so we're not going to have to waste any removal spells on it. We can very easily kill it with Vara's Favor. And then we're going to Sabotage him, because this deck is for sure going to have a ton of spells. Okay, so... What am I worried about? Oh, he has more. Wow, a lot of... Wait, so I know every single card in his hand. So he has no power. He doesn't even have the 5th power to play Harsh Rule, and he definitely doesn't have enough power to play Tempest. I think we just go ahead and take the Vanquish actually, and we'll just make sure we don't overextend onto the board, and because the idea. Oh wait. None of these guys are 4 power yet. That was kind of dumb. It's okay. My original idea was to make this a 5-4 and then draw cards off it every turn until he uses the harsh rule, but seeing how... Okay, so he's just gonna go ahead and use the harsh rule. So he has an Island's Choice, he has a Channel the Tempest in his hand, and he has a Lightning Storm in his hand. And so he has 1 new card. So, not very good. So because he just used the harsh rule, I'm actually kind of happy to play the Beckoning Lumen and draw a card off of it. Because at this point, even if he does draw another harsh rule, we're still just trading 2 cards for 2 cards. Because I already drawn a card off the Lumen, so I've already gotten the card advantage from it. So he has an Alien's Choice in his hand. So we're not going to attack with the Lumen, we're just going to attack with this and draw another card off of the Lumen. And here, I'm actually just going to go ahead and play out the Umbren Reaper. Because once again, I actually don't care too much if this unit dies. And it applies a lot of pressure. It's going to take off a little less than half of his life, like 40% of his life here, even if he kills it. And my opponent is just dead now. I have 2 removal spells, so he's 100% dead. And even if not, I think this Azindel's gift will make him concede the game right away. He was a little too slow on the start, and Sabotage just destroyed him this game, I think. Sabotage is very good against these kind of decks. So that's a legit win. Yeah, my opponent's deck, very much a control deck, I would say. Lots of late game cards, lots of reactionary cards. So this is 5 land hand, a very clear redraw here. Yep, this hand's quite good. We go turn 1 Amber Monument, turn 2 Seat, which allows us to play Temple Scribe, and then so this is the perfect mana. I hit double Time turn 2 and then double Shadow turn 3, which allows me to play pretty much every card in my deck. I mean, influence wise. It's great that he just burns his Vara's Favor like this. And now I have a unit that he has to that can serve as a chump blocker. I'm sure his deck is an aggressive Argentport deck. So even if I can use to block a 3/3 or 4/3 for 1 turn, it's still pretty good. Alright, we need a way to deal with this. I actually think I would rather draw a card. I understand playing Ayan end of turn is pretty good, but I think drawing a card is more important to me than gaining 3 life and doing 3 damage. I need to draw into something to get rid of the Bartholo before he puts a very big weapon onto it, like the Falchion, the Bloodletter. Okay. Good. We're continuing to draw power. That's very important for us. So we could use the Banish to trigger his Aegis, and that might scare him into not wanting to put any more weapons onto it. But then we don't have no way to actually kill it. So at this point, I'm just gonna wait. Because I have an Ayan and the Banish, I have 2 reactionary cards that I can play at instant speed. I can afford to wait a little bit and see what my opponent does, which is nothing. Interesting. 5 power and nothing to cast. So that tells me that my opponent has a bunch of removal in his hand, and that's why he... because if it's a unit, he would just play it. So I'm gaining 3 life and taking 5, so I'm only taking 2 damage a turn. So I can do this race all day. He's taking 3 and I'm taking 2. Okay, that's fine. Not a really big deal. Yeah, so it is a handful of removal and also some reactionary cards like the Enforcer. At this point though, I would really like to draw another power. This is quite problematic. I think There's no way for me to play 2 cards in the same turn, so I think we're just gonna go ahead and attack him. No, because he would just race me, and I can't win this race. He swings back for 8, I'm dead in 2 turns. So I think I'm just gonna have to remove this and hope that I draw into a Xenan Initiation. Well, I would need a power first, but because even if I draw Xenan Initiation, I need to first play the Dawnwalker and then play the Initiation on it to kill him. So I think what I need to draw is another removal spell. That's not good enough. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just go ahead and use Banish on this card, because my only hope is that on the following turn, I draw one of my 4 mana removal spells, like Deathstrike or another Banish. Nope, it is neither of those things. Alright, that's good game. That's too bad. I think we can race him if we had these 5 ones in play, because we are gaining 5 life and dealing 5 damage to him per turn. That's a 10-point life swing, which is pretty significant. Okay. Let's play a couple more games. This video is getting a little long, but I'll play a couple more games, and then the next video is going to be, I think, me playing with Armory. I've also been playing with Armory lately, and that deck is absolutely incredibly powerful. When I play with the Armory, with the Tavred version of Armory, I do feel quite safe and in control, and I do feel kind of filthy when I play Tavred and attack with it 2 or 3 times, and then have a bunch of 9/1 rune hammers in my hand. It's a pretty disgusting feeling, actually. It's almost I almost feel like I'm cheating in the game. Okay, this power base is okay. Oh no, it's a fast deck. I need to draw some early. Oh no. Which land do I play? Let's start with the Xenan Banner, because I can always draw Sigil, and then this becomes undepleted. But as it is, I don't have any way to deal with these units for 2 more turns, and it's almost guaranteed that the Dawnwalker will get killed when I play it. I'm not sure I'll have enough time to turn that Monument into a 5/5 this game. So let's just play the Monument first, because we can still play this undepleted if we draw Sigil. Oh hey, no assembly line. That's very good. So let's do this. I don't think it matters which one I play out. Let's play the Dawnwalker first, because Dawnwalker is a little bit less likely that he wants to kill. Whereas if I play the Interrogator, he's just gonna torch it. With that said, the Auric Interrogator is a better blocker, but I'm not sure I would be blocking with it anyway, because he can just rally and kill it. So now I have 4 power. I think at this point I'm just gonna ambush one of his units and gain some life. I would like to ambush the Initiates of the Sands. Oh, so he's not attacking. Oh, what? Why would you? What? Oh, what? No, what? Why would you play this before combat? It's very unusual. Thankfully, our opponent's draw is not super aggressive, so it's really bought us some time here. So I can go Interrogator, Xenan Initiation, kill this for free, and then draw cards, but I'm at 15 life, and drawing cards damages me. So right now, what I need is not card draw. What I need is to not lose the game. So I think what I'll do instead is play the Dawnwalker and just killer the 5/5. If I had an extra power, what I would do instead is play the Steward of the Past and put the Xenan Initiation onto Ayan to kill the Praxis Displacer, which gains me 4 life, removes his unit from the board. But because I only have 5 power, I want to be able to do 2 things in the same turn. So he can activate this next turn, and that's very aggressive. I can still only do 1 thing a turn, so I'm just go ahead and do that. Oh, that's a very good rip. And then I'll play the Steward, so he can attack me for 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 damage, bringing me to 1. That's likely going to end the game next turn. I don't have... unless I draw a unit that gains me a lot of life, which I don't think there are. Maybe an Ayan. If I... Okay, so I kill this. Next turn, he attacks, I block. Ayan blocks 1. Nope, still not enough. This is the only way I survive, right? Because this is the only way I take 9. Any other block, I die. I think Ayan won't do it. Gang 3. Yeah, that certainly won't do it. Alright. The draw was a little too slow. And this is a very common problem with this deck. I do have a lot of 3 and 4 mana cards. So between turns 3 and 6, and maybe even 7, depending on when you pick your... Basically between 3 to 6 power, you're often just playing 1 card per turn, and I think that's a little too slow. Okay, we'll play a final game, and then we'll call it a night. I do have fun playing with this deck, though. It's not the most powerful deck, but I do find it interesting to play, and I do find that with this deck, because it's kind of mediocre at the moment, I do find that there's a lot of decision to make, and I think thinking about the different lines of play, making decisions, and then seeing if I made the right decisions, I think that part is actually really enjoyable, regardless of the result of the game. Walrus Bear. Cool. This hand is not very good. I have no plays into turn... I have no unit into turn 5, so I'm crossing my fingers that I draw one. I think on Auric, Interrogator is one of my best draws here because I have a Xenan Initiation in hand. Ayan wouldn't be too bad. Steward's okay. My opponent only has Justice right now, so he's both power screwed and colored screwed. Another uneventful game. I don't really want my last game to be like this. Okay, so that doesn't count. Let's play another game. So, did we only win games where our opponents got power screwed? Is that what happened? Are we at like 3 wins, all of which our opponents got power screwed, and then 3 losses or 4 losses? I don't remember our record anymore. I also don't remember how many games we have played. But isn't this kind of ridiculous though that I played 6 or 7 games and 50% of those games my opponent got power screwed and I won? Like that really shouldn't happen. I think that is something that Direwolf Digital really need to fix. I hate it when it happens to me, and I hate it just as much when it happens to my opponents. Okay, last game. Let's make it good. Rec 9 Sugar. I believe I've ran into him before. Is this hand good? Yeah, I think it's good, because I'm going first, and I do have a turn 3 play. Well, potentially a turn 3 play. So let's make this Shadow, because the plan is to play the Xenan Banner next turn to ensure that we definitely have a non-depleted power to play the Auric Interrogator on the following turn. What that means is that we don't have double time sigils, double time influence. So there's a risk. Immediately punished. I was just gonna say, there's a risk that we won't be able to play the double time card in our deck, which is the Dawnwalker. So we are punished for it immediately. So hopefully we draw power. Oh, we do. That's perfect. And that would allow us to attack into him and draw a card as well. This is a very good sequence of events. And we all even have the Banish to get rid of his Seraph as he approaches 8 power. That's too bad. And now we don't have a very good way to deal with the hammer. I can play the Dawnwalker, and that will allow him to trade his hammer for my Dawnwalker. Or I can just play the Steward, I think, which is a little bit better. It also prevents him from playing Dawnwalkers. I'm not sure if this deck even runs it. So he's going to torch it and finish it off. That's fine. So we just traded 2 cards for 1 card. Well, overall, we traded 2 cards for 2 cards, so it's not that bad for me. Okay, that's not a problem. Let's just play another Steward. Stewards are very good. Very difficult for decks that relies on good units for combat to deal with. And of course, once again, we get punished by having the Xenan Obelisk in play, allowing the Vanquish to kill our Steward, bringing us to 12 life. We could really use the power. Yeah, I know that we have enough power to play every card in our hand almost, but the problem isn't so much that I can play these cards, is that I can't play 2 cards in the same turn. I would really like to be able to play 2 cards in the same turn. A tempo loss is a big deal in this deck. We played the Umbren Reaper first because it's more aggressive, and I wouldn't mind getting some life. So I didn't bother banish these because he has 2. So I mean, if he has a power, I can't kill both of them. So my only bet really is to race him with these Umbren Reapers, and I'm hoping he doesn't draw into a bunch of silencing units. So Desert Marshals, and I'm not sure if this deck runs Curators, but I suspect not. Oh, he does have Valkyrie Enforcers, of course. So that's too bad. I'm in a lot of trouble now. I think if I don't block here, I go to 4. No, I think I just double block this so it doesn't get to attack me every turn. Okay, so we attack him. Yep, we attack him. It's good that he blocks, because if he doesn't block, he actually wins. I needed him to block so I can play this Umbren Reaper to block his Shatterglass Mage next turn. Actually, I probably won't block the Shatterglass Mage. Now that I'm at 17 life, I can swing into him and then find a way to kill the Reaper to beat him. Wait, I just win now, right? Because the Dawnwalker has Overwhelm, all I have to do is attack him, and then he loses. Oh, wow. Alright! Yes! I don't... The last few turns has gone a little too fast, and I kind of went on autopilot and didn't think that much. So, I don't know if I made mistakes. I have no idea why I was rushing turns so quickly, but somehow it worked out. Great. And I'm sorry, I should have slowed that down a little bit and really go through my thought process on each of the plays. But I think this video is getting a little long, and I'm sure you guys are getting bored of this deck as well. So that's it. I don't know how many games we played, somewhere between 8 and 9. I think we ended up about the same spot that we started. I think we're kind of even on wins and losses, maybe a little higher than when we started. But deck is not bad. I think the deck has some potential. I think it can be fine-tuned some more. And there are so many different options. For example, I could actually put in Sandstorm Titans in this deck. You can get rid of the 4 Sabotage, put in Sandstorm Titans. You can certainly play some Suffocates, early game removal spells. You can play Amber Acolytes for some mana fixing instead of so many copies of Vara's Favor, even though their favor is quite good for triggering the Beckoning Lumen. You could play, you can also remove Sabotage and put in 4 copies of Dark Return, which is very powerful if you put Xenan Initiation onto your Auric Interrogator, and then you can bring it back with Dark Return again. It's actually a very powerful source of card advantage and repeatable removal. Also, Dark Return on the Umbren Reaper is also very powerful. 10 life swing is quite a lot. So you can also remove the Obelisk, you can remove Steward of the Past. There's a lot of, you can also go a little bit bigger and put in Mystic Ascendants, Predator Cranosaurs. Time has way too many good units you can use. So I think there's many different things you can do to tweak this deck. And I think right now, as far as Life Force goes, quote unquote, even though I only have one Life Force card, this is the best version. So it's not even a really a Life Force deck. It's more like an incidental Life Force deck. So, so there we have it. Thank you very much for watching my videos. If you like what you see, give me a like, a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more content. The next 2 videos will most likely be a drafting video and a armory gameplay video. I haven't done any drafts this entire season, this entire month, so I think I should do a few of those as well for those of you who are interested in drafts. Thanks for watching.